Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. As always, thanks for joining us. Federal Reserve officials held key interest rates steady as they see good news on the horizon for the national economy. But are we out of the woods yet? I caught up with Mervin Jebaraj, economist for the University of Arkansas Walton College of Business, to discuss. Joining me now, Mervin Jebaraj, economist with the University of Arkansas Walton College of Business. He also leads the Center for Business and Economic Research. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again.
Let us talk about what has been happening with the U.S. economy. We have gotten some GDP readings. We've seen where inflation seems to be fairly in check. It's above where the Federal Reserve Bank would like it to be, but seems to be in some sort of control. Most importantly, consumer spending and sentiment seems to be generally pretty positive. Are we seeing that soft landing that is very difficult for people to stick, but policymakers seem to be maybe somewhat close to that?
Well, I think if you look back to what people's expectations were last year, in the summer of last year when inflation, this was 2022, which seems like so long ago, but in the summer of 2022, inflation was approaching 10%. The Federal Reserve was rapidly raising their interest rates. And I think just about everybody who asked predicted that we would be in one way or the other in a recession at some point in 2023. So as far as soft landing goes, I think you can safely say that the Federal Reserve has stuck a soft landing in 2023. Now, if you ever watch those gymnastics thing, you got to step and then you get like 1 to 2 extra steps before you steady yourself. So that's where we are in heading into 2024. We've stuck the first landing. Excellent. If we stop right there, 10 out of 10. I don't know what the score is in gymnastics, maybe 100 out of 100, I don't know. But, we got to see if that 1 or 2 more balancing steps next year stick as well, or if they're really big steps and we end up in a recession. So I think right now expectations, we just released the organization that I'm with, the National Association of Business Economics. We put out an Outlook survey at the start of this month, and 3 out of 4 of our Outlook survey panelists that forecast the general state of the economy predicted a less than 50% chance of recession next year, so over the next 12 months. So that is a much higher percentage of economists that were not predicting a recession than ever before. If you look at the Federal Reserve's own projections, they're no longer projecting a recession as well. I think Federal Chairman Jerome Powell's comments this past week, he's indicated that he's expecting there not to be a recession, although, he gives plenty of caveats to give himself an out if there is one. But right now, looking at where we are here in December of 2023, we've certainly beat the expectations that most people had going back to last year, summer of last year in 2022, and the expectations that most people had through the first part of this year. And as the data has come in through the second part of this year, you mentioned GDP, a very strong GDP number, 5% growth, much stronger than we were expecting, preceded by over 2% growth in the previous quarters. We're probably looking at around 2% growth for the last quarter in 2023 as well. So very strong economic growth in 2023. Very generally other economic indicators like employment and wages are doing well as for the national economy. And, inflation is at 3.1% higher than the 2% the Federal Reserve would like it to be. But if you look at, just the last 6 months, the inflation rate, that is under 3% now, and a lot closer to where the Federal Reserve wants it to be. So again, I think, you look at our survey of the National Business Economists, they expect inflation to get to about 2.3, 2.2% by the end of next year. So a lot closer to where the Federal Reserve wants it to be.
Let's talk about it in the state of Arkansas. Our unemployment rate has actually ticked up a little bit. I want you to explain why that is. And then maybe just when you look at that and other economic indicators, are these just kind of minor corrections, or do you think that we have something to worry about here?
Well, I think so. You expect some amount of, unemployment rate to go up and the economy to generally cool, given that the Federal Reserve has raised rates as much as they have, as fast as they have, and as high as they've kept it for as long as they've kept it. So we're still expecting the Federal Reserve to maintain these high rates through at least the early part of the spring next year. And this high interest rate does contract the economy somewhat, which is why you're seeing inflation cool. Wage growth, which was incredible in 2022 and the early part of 2023, is still pretty good, but has cooled somewhat. And that's because the labor market is cooling. So the number of jobs added by the US economy is still fairly high, but is not as high as it was earlier this year, and definitely not as high as it was last year. The unemployment rate in Arkansas went to the record low earlier this year. It's currently at 3.1%, which was the previous record low in Arkansas. So again, the very slight increase in the unemployment rate mirrors what we're seeing nationally as well, where the unemployment rate went up close to about 0.5%. But nonetheless, overall, we expect some slowing in the economy without us going into a recession. And I think that's where we are right now.
All right. He is Mervin Jebaraj. He is the economist with the University of Arkansas Walton College of Business. You got a big business forecast coming up as well. Give everybody just a quick preview of that, 30 seconds or less.
Yeah. So on January 26th, we will have our 30th annual business forecast luncheon. And we have a couple of great economists. Ellen Zentner from Morgan Stanley is going to provide the U.S. economic forecast, and Greg Dako from EY Parthenon is going to provide the international economic forecast. I'll do the forecast for Arkansas economy, and Curtis Barnett, the CEO of Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield, will be our moderator.
All right. Well, it'll be good. And you can get information. You can find it at talkbusiness.net about that, or you can go to the University of Arkansas Walton College of Business Mervin Jebaraj fan page and find things about that too. Mervin, thank you so much.
Thank you.